Hi, this is Clint with Salt Lake Community College Universal Access, and I wanted to just make a quick video here. I was asked to do a little bit of testing for a new section of our online portal. So we've got MySLCC, and this is sort of the portal or hub where all of students can register for classes. This is where you can get your status on financial aid. It's where also employees and faculty can go for employee information, things like that. And so this new section has been added here. It's not live to the rest of the college just yet, and I've just been asked to take a look at it. So before I go through and actually test it to see if it works with a screen reader, I'm going to do some sort of preliminary testing. And the first thing I'm going to do is just make an inventory of what I'm looking at and what I'm going to need to focus on. So the first way to start out is I'm going to look for any features. Like here I've got a drop-down menu. So I'm going to want to check and make sure that works with a keyboard. I'm going to want to check all my text to make sure it's indeed text and not an image. And I can see this as text because I can click and drag the mouse and highlight words. Same with most of the numbers here. Something interesting is happening, and that is these images are indeed images. So if I click and drag, I can see that, there are some images here that I am guessing they change depending upon my status, but those are images, so I'm going to want to sort of evaluate those as well. And then at the bottom, I've got links, and those are pretty self-explanatory. Just by looking at them, I should be able to click them, but we're going to test it out and make sure. So first thing I'm going to want to do is press the tab button on my keyboard, and you can see, I'm going to switch over to my mouse here. I've selected select term. I've got the little box around it here. Let me do that again just so you can see. It's selected now, just using the keyboard. Now I want to make sure that this drop-down menu works, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key and then press down. And you just have to do that once. Now I've got the drop-down menu open. Now that it's open, I can just use my arrows and sort of just pick which term I'm looking for. So we'll do for fall. I'm going to press enter. Okay, so things have changed now. I've updated. You can see some of these check marks have changed. And depending on which term is selected, things change. I just wanted to show you with the mouse. So I've selected that. We'll go again. Oops, let me get here. And I'm going to start tabbing through things. Now, an issue is if sometimes you're tabbing and you are not sure where it is that the mouse is tabbing, you can click somewhere else on the page and sort of reset yourself. See, now I'm up here. I'm going to just use the mouse to point it out. I can see I'm going through these top tabs just by selecting MySLCC. Here's the test. Here's the body or the region of what I'm looking at. Now I'm back to select term. If I keep tabbing, next I move to the next available link. So far things seem to be working well. A question I have is the read order of each of these columns. So I've got, it looks like 4 columns of space here. And then another thing I'm going to check is, just to make sure all these links work and they're selectable by a keyboard. So I've got English 1010 highlighted here. If I press enter, I didn't use my mouse at all, but it took me over to a link and I'm off to another page, so I can review this PDF document. And I could go through and also check and get an idea of this PDF document and if it's accessible, but that's not really my task today. I'm going to just be looking through and making sure that links work. Okay, this link appears to work, and you'll probably notice a trend if one feature works in a place. For example, this drop-down menu, it works here. If that's the case, usually it's going to work throughout. That's not always the case, but usually it is, because the programmers designed a drop-down menu to work one way, and usually they're pretty consistent. So far so good. The other thing they wanted me to test is just down here. Let me get highlighted. Test links. Okay, so you see I'm up here at these top ones, and sometimes you'll gloss over little icons like these because they have a tendency to blend in, but tabbing through things will really help you realize how much a student using a screen reader is going to have to tab through in order to get to the meat of the content or where they're going. So it does sort of help to give an understanding of read order and how busy a page is. So I've got this selected. I'm going to select enter. So far it works good, and it looks like I'm into this next portal called Fast Track. I don't have login information here. I just wanted to check and make sure it worked. So I think that is everything I needed to test. The next part here is a little subjective, and I'm looking at this portal as a whole, and there's another question I have, and that is these images with the circles and the check marks, that's conveying information to me. One, that my application was accepted. Two, that I've done my placement exam, orientation, and registration. And so these things are conveying some information visually. So the only thing I'd want to check is there another way for me to access this information without looking at the image? And so I can look at it and see, is there a visual or is there a textual explanation? It says down here, congratulations, your application has been accepted. Okay, so right here there is a textual description of essentially what is a check mark box. So this is acceptable. This works perfect. That actually, I think, does more for me than having alt text for this image that says check mark. This is actually telling me explicitly that I have been accepted. So same thing with placement. There's an empty circle here, no check mark. I can see below that there are tests that I need to take. Your college transcript have been received. Please meet with your academic advisor. So it's actually textually telling me what I need to do, and if I can figure out that's what I need to do, that's the next step in order to make sure I've got that completed. So overall, I haven't used a screen reader at all to review this, but I'm seeing that so far things are looking pretty good. I'm able to navigate it with my keyboard. I've thought about it critically, and how would a person use this if they could not see any of the images? Was there alt text on images? If not, then is there some kind of textual explanation that's going to be there for me? So those are the things I look for, and I think that gets you most of the way there when you're testing for accessibility. The next thing I would do is, if I am concerned or if there's a little bit more I want to look at, I can actually hire somebody or get a student or an employee that is familiar with a screen reader, or if I'm relatively familiar with a screen reader, but I can get a second opinion on it and have a blind or low vision user review it and get their opinion. Sometimes they will pick things up that I have overlooked, but the more that you do this and the more you're familiar with read order and tab order, the more that you're able to spot accessibility issues or be able to spot something that's been designed well. So I hope that helps. Thank you, and we will see you soon.